We come to the end of my course, Build a Geothermal Greenhouse in Your Backyard. As I said at the start, large-scale electricity generation with geothermal energy will come in many parts of the world, from Australia to the existing plants in Iceland. Canada and the United States have lots of geothermal potential. If we improve the efficiency of long-distance transmission and storage, it can definitely work. My question in creating this test greenhouse in Canada: does geothermal energy work for home installation? And can we grow good food in the winter in Canada? Can we do it ourselves? Local geothermal, tapping 8 feet down or under, can provide steady heat or cooling within a band of temperatures. In winter you can count on heat between 40 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 4.4 and 10 degrees C. That temperature could be higher if your system is also drawing on stored summer heat from above. In summer, temperatures coming out of a home installation range from 56 to 65 degrees F, 13 to 18 degrees C, again depending on whether above ground temperatures have been stored as well. Let's talk about geothermal for home heating and cooling. What about geothermal heat for the house? Well, humans lived in 40 to 50 or 4 to 10 degrees C indoor temperatures for centuries. In medieval times, people wore many layers of clothes indoors and thought they were lucky not to be freezing. But we don't like that. We stay near a fire when we have fuel. But in a social emergency or collapse of the fossil fuel system, we could survive with just geothermal heat. Everybody uses a bit of it in their basement. A single solar panel could run the fan. We can do better, of course. Now we have heat pumps which draw 20% of the energy used by an electric heater, and that may improve further still. The heat pump begins with air heated around 48 degrees F or 8.8 degrees C in this system, instead of frigid air outdoors. That makes a big difference, and it's a big energy saving as well. But you would need a heat pump to bring that air up to the temperature where most of us feel comfortable. I think geothermal base heat, we'll call it, and cooling for homes will happen if we have the time as new homes are built. In my region, all homes are required to have a bed of rock and an outlet underneath any basement built. That porous rock bed feeds to a 6-inch ABS pipe in the basement floor. The law is a safety measure in our area in case the radioactive gas radon is ever discovered down there. The gas can be collected in the rock, drawn into a pipe with a fan, and then upward through a pipe to the roof for exhaust. I could almost just stick a fan on the intake pipe and draw 48-degree air into our basement, assuming we don't have any radon gas. The building code also requires 4-inch drainage pipes all around the foundation, set in a couple of feet of gravel. This is to move any water away from the foundation. But again, the basics of air-laden gravel and pipe are already part of normal construction here. Surely we could mandate that all new basements must have a layer of drainage gravel and pipes installed below the concrete floor. That puts a geothermal heating and cooling option into every new home built, saving lots of energy that have basements anyway, and guaranteeing a survivable base for any home, even in heat waves. The cooling from geothermal could be even more important, especially in the south, as the world experiences multiple heat waves. Because the house sits on top, there would be no summer input from the outside. That is, there would be practically no earth battery effect. The cool air from under basement geothermal is steady and it's guaranteed. Since air conditioners are the main draw for electricity in the summer, we might not even need air conditioners. We can reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and save money with home geothermal as time goes by. Your decision to build a geothermal greenhouse depends on what you expect and who you are. Can it pay? If you live near a city where fresh organic greens command a good price, you may eventually be able to pay off the cost and make money. Of course, that assumes you become a good greenhouse operator too. You could also sell off bedding plants in the spring, or raise marijuana where that is legal. None of that applies to me, so I did not expect to earn back the several $1,000s spent on excavation within my lifetime. However, the geothermal greenhouse adds value to our property when we eventually have to move on. The real payback for me, as I said in the beginning, was learning so much about building, improving my health, and growing confidence in myself. Plus, now I have an enjoyable space to garden or just to sit outside the house. It seems to have the sky for a roof, and no matter what the weather is like outside, it's comfortable in there. It remains a fantastic hobby years later, and we're eating better in the winter. Let's talk about geothermal energy in difficult times. A local commercial marijuana grower has been watching my geothermal experiment with interest. We need more research to see what the impact of geothermal on the economics of a larger greenhouse will be. And I'm talking about real geothermal here, not just digging down a foot or 3 feet and putting some pipes in. We've got to go deeper to do it. Most of us expect higher energy costs over the next decade, and that makes geothermal more valuable over time. Climate change is the wild card in all this, isn't it? Various scientific studies predict we will have more crop failures in the coming decade, and we could even have crops die off in several key breadbasket areas in the same year. That makes homegrown food not just a health benefit, but possibly a survival asset. Even without such a disaster, I find outdoor gardening is becoming more challenging as the weather goes through such wild swings. It can go from extreme heat to frost in a few days. Then we get high winds and driving rains. Having a fresh food source indoors becomes very valuable in those conditions. My glass greenhouse design withstands high winds, rains, or blizzards. It's been through all of those. And those kinds of weather could crush a plastic-covered building. But a tornado or a hurricane could smash the glass with flying objects, so the design is good up to a point. But however you find the greenhouse above the ground, the geothermal engine below cannot really be damaged. The pipes could in extreme cases become flooded, I suppose, but that shouldn't last long, considering all the drainage gravel. The pipes have never flooded here over 3 years of operation, even in the spring floods. As far as I can tell, there is no maintenance whatsoever with the geothermal engine. We may have to replace the intake fan from time to time. The rest may last half a century or a full century, no matter what happens to society. Nobody can steal the geothermal engine or break it. No other source of energy is so dependable. Let's talk about the deeper future. Regarding the past times of hothouse Earth, we discover our earliest mammal predecessors had to go underground to escape the heat. They were about the size of mice, I'm told. We will probably do the same. Underground homes or even cities are drawing on geothermal energy to heat and cool. The Australian town of Cooper Pedy is located underground in an old opal mine. They have shops, restaurants, banks, and homes. There are several underground cities in the United States and Russia, some built with the hope of surviving atomic war. I slept in an underground hotel room in Matmata, Tunisia, that was built to escape the heat and winds from the Sahara. We have already many underground places in the world. Of course, caves were home to the earliest humans for the same reasons. According to scientists I interview on radio, some current countries in the Middle East will become so hot and humid that humans could not live outside for more than half an hour. There will be tens of millions of climate refugees from the heat and drought developing closer to the equator. More than 1 million Syrian refugees pouring into Europe in past years were just the first wave. Those humans who keep and stay and survive in places like the United Arab Emirates, Pakistan, and so many other hot zones that are developing, they may spend their days underground and venture out at night. They too will use geothermal energy. If staple crops fail several years running in North America, Europe, or Russia, we may see more need to grow indoors where we can control the climate. At that point, industrial-scale geothermal greenhouses will be needed. Of course, this last-ditch system could feed far fewer people than we have today. If this civilization avoids that agricultural calamity, and I hope that it will, and it moves towards renewables, geothermal energy will be part of the mix. We need to build a culture of experience and development, including home and geothermal and earth battery installations. New building codes need to encourage this. We need more people experienced in geothermal construction. I hope my geothermal lab project has been useful to you. If you have further questions or comments to share, please send them by email. Use the contact form at my website, www.ecoshock.org. That's ECOSHOCK.org. I cannot guarantee a personal response. Those will come as I have time during radio production. My primary focus remains trying to transmit climate change science and activism. But feel free to send me photos or short notes on what you're doing. Remember, I can't possibly answer everyone. For a while, I will also make available my pages and pages of research notes to anyone purchasing this course. These are loaded with links to many previous geothermal greenhouse videos on YouTube with my notes on them, plus research into affordable equipment to test out and build this project. These are very rough notes and not very well organized. They do have titles that can be searched. I will not be updating them, and eventually some links will go stale. Send me your name and purchase date via the contact form on my website or to the postal address below. I will send out my research notes as I get time. As long as I am able, I may also be available for geothermal consulting work by telephone. Please use the web contact form or the mailing address below. I will also consider presentations to conferences or groups, preferably by teleconference links. Someone needs to set up a geothermal greenhouse blog where we can all contribute. Could that be you? I'm Alex Smith for Radio EcoShock. Thank you for taking this course and taking the time to understand geothermal energy.